Over the past few months, we've been exploring the book of Bereshit and seeing how there's answers there for all of our questions of what we're going through now and what we've gone through all of history. And all you need to do is open up the book, look, listen, read. It's all there. Questions like, what role do feminism and veganism play in the days of the Geula? What is the source of the conflict between the Jews and the Muslims? It's all found in the Torah, and all you need to do is just look. So, this week's question is, how do you fight anti-Semitism? Over the past few months, there's been a rise in over 1,400% in anti-Semitic acts in the US and Europe. How do you fight that? What is the proper way to do that? The Torah tells us this week. This week, Parashat Shemot, the Torah tells us about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, our most famous leader, he is born, his mother takes him, hides him because there is a decree that all Jewish boys will be thrown into the Nile. When he is too big and she can no longer hide him, she puts him in a basket and sends him out onto the Nile, hoping that someone will have mercy on him and that God is watching over. Paro's daughter sees this baby and takes him in and raises him as her own inside the palace. One day Moshe is walking around and he sees an Egyptian soldier beating an Israelite. And Moshe looks both directions and kills this Egyptian soldier. The Midrash asks, Midrash Rabbah says, how does he kill him? It's a very odd question because, well, what benefit can we have from knowing this information? And in addition to that, if it was important, wouldn't the Torah tell us? So the Midrash tells us and says, how does he kill him? Obviously, like any good Jewish question, there are many different opinions. So the three different opinions that are brought up are like this. The first opinion says, he punches him. With one punch, he kills this Egyptian. The second opinion says, he sees that the Jewish slave has tools, and he takes the tool, and with this, he kills the Egyptian soldier. And the third opinion says, he uses his mouth. He uses God's explicit name, and with that, he kills the Egyptian, and the Egyptian drops dead. The Midrash finishes with each opinion explaining their source and why their opinion is the right one. And it ends up saying, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chaim, this and this and this, they are all God's words. In other words, everybody is right. Is that true? Is that real? Is everybody right? One of them definitely happened. The other ones did not. So what does that mean? Today we're in a time that it's not hard to see, for a very, very long time, that the Jewish people have been split. Very, very divided. And each one of us has been in our own place saying, my way or the highway. There's only this way to do it. And there are those who say it's only my way. And then suddenly, on the 7th of October, after the despised terrorist attack and beginning of the war, all of these things got put aside and all Jews united. And Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chaim, and this is true and that is true, and everybody got together to do what's right. So what are these opinions? The first opinion is when you see an act of baseless hate, an act of violence against Jews, you get up and you physically fight them. There is no place now for discussions. We will never again go through a Holocaust. That was the words, never again. That was what the UN was built on. And now they're backtracking on their behavior. But when the UN was built, it was built to make sure that there would never be another Holocaust. Never again. And you see Jews being attacked, you go and you fight them. A Jewish ethics is hakam lehorgecha hashkem leorgo. If someone is coming to kill you, you kill him first. Someone is coming to attack you, you attack him first. The halacha says you go for battles like this. Even on Shabbat, you leave and you start doing these battles because we are not going to let Jewish life be cheap. People are not allowed to be killed like this. You see violence, you go and you fight it. And for people who are listening right now and are saying, you can't fight fire with fire, you can't fight violence with violence. Our past generations are having a very hard time, our current generations are having a very hard time with this concept of fighting a war. Wars don't solve anything. But the truth is that whenever you have a war, you have real evil that is rising, and you don't fight it, evil wins. And that is dangerous. How easy was it for the world to just sit aside while the Nazis were murdering 6 million Jews and countless others, and just say, look, violence doesn't solve anything. But the ethical thing to do is when you see evil, you fight it. And when evil has started the war, all the more reason to go out and fight. Second opinion is an opinion of tools. You use the tools that you have. And this comes from, like many Jews in America after World War II, who got up, went to America, and when they were in America, said, I need to have as many tools as I possibly could. Let me be as well connected as I could so that if something like this ever happens, I can stop it. Political connections, media connections, connections in businesses, connections in whichever way that I could. Whatever tools I have in my arsenal to be able to use, it's the time to use them. And then when these things will happen, I will be able to stand up and say, never again. But we will do it through tools, through diplomacy. That is the second way of doing it. And the third opinion is you call in God's name. Use God's name. Pray. The spiritual aspect of uniting and praying and doing something to change what's going on. And that opinion is extremely important as well. And now, in these days, we are seeing how important all three of those are. We are understanding the importance of when there's a war, you need to fight. You need to use the diplomacy, and you need to call on God's name. People need to understand that this war is not between Israel and Hamas alone. This war is for any innocent person in the world. When people did not stand up and fight out against the Nazis, when they were coming for them in Kristallnacht, when they were coming after every single Jew, people said, it's just for the Jews. 6 million Jews were killed. But how many millions of blacks and gypsies and gays and disabled people and autistic people and people with all different types, things that did not fit the Nazi ideal, were killed as well? Because it always starts out with first attacking the Jews. But it never ends there. And it doesn't end over here either. People are saying it's okay to, this attack on October 7th is okay because it was against Jews. If it happened anywhere else, what would they have said? But it's going to come. The more you justify this type of violence, the more you justify this type of terror, then when it comes in Europe, and when it comes in America, and when it comes in every corner of the globe, wherever these terrorist attacks will happen, what will you have to say then? Right now, good needs to unite against terror. And this is not a religious thing. This is not a ethnicity thing. It's not a race thing. It is everybody together needs to get up and do what's right. You fight evil where you see it, physically, on social media platforms, writing to governors, and whatever you can do in your local region. And we pray to God that evil is eradicated from the world so that good can prevail. Shabbat Shalom.